Hello, welcome to Sky Sweaty Record Review, episode 96. It's the only new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after getting out of the YMCA. I'm recording in like a different spot than I usually do, trying to liven things up with this plant, which is a little bit aggressive. I might have to move this later. How is it aggressive? Just look at it. You eyeing me? Anyway, I'm going to be reviewing Eric Taxxon's 16 Sketchbooks Ago. If you don't know, Eric Taxxon is an extremely prolific young artist who makes music, I believe, in his bedroom, and he's been releasing an album every month this year. And so I'm just checking it out and baking in the sunlight and trying to review his stuff for a whole year, give it a real shot. I think he's going to, by the end of the year, make at least one great album's worth of material. I mean, the stuff I don't like is good, and the stuff that I love is great. And so I'm kind of interested going through all of it and seeing where we're going. His fans are very passionate. And so last time I reviewed a video, I've reviewed 3 of his movies now. Last time I reviewed one of his albums, I got a couple comments that were like, "Sky, you have to check out his YouTube channel." And I was like, I totally will. And then I didn't. And now I'm going to pretend like that was intentional. And I'm never going to check his YouTube channel. At least not until the end of the year. You see, I want to try to experience him not as a multimedia branded YouTube phenomena, but just as an artist making music in his house and seeing what he's doing. And then at the end of the year, I'll watch it. I'm sure he's an entertaining guy, from what I know. Everything that I know about him really comes from my ex-girlfriend's kid, Gabe, who's like the pathway to YouTube for me. And so he taught me all about H-Bomber Guy and all about Donkey and taught me why I should tell my kids not to watch PewDiePie, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, this is the best musician who's making music out there. So if I ever meet smart young people, I tend to listen to them. So that's how I ended up with Eric Taxxon. Now let's think about this album, okay? So if I'm going to say I'm not going to watch his YouTube channel, I'm not going to follow what he's saying in his daily life, what information do I have? I know he's a young guy. I don't know how young. I think wicked young. I'm not sure exactly how young. I know he lives in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz, if you've never been there, okay, this might be Santa Cruz feels to me like kind of an oddly, I almost want to say evil place. I got really bad vibes and good vibes at the same time from Santa Cruz. It's got the kind of the beach and like lots of tourists and no public restrooms. I'll never forgive it for that. Like you feel sort of like you have to kind of like drive off the highway to get there. Like you don't really feel like, oh, here's the exit. Like I kind of had the feeling like my car just tumbled over and ended up in Santa Cruz. It's a beautiful place, but it's interesting because it's really hot right now. Because if you've seen the movie Us, directed by Jordan Peele, entertaining movie, although that guy has to stop explaining everything. It's okay. Not everything needs an explanation. The whole movie takes place in Santa Cruz. And for me, someone who's been there and had these feelings, having it all take place in this sort of weird, twisted boardwalk really worked. So when I listened to this album, that was influencing me. Not whatever he's talking about on YouTube or whatever he says in his videos, but this kind of concept of like, what is Santa Cruz? Can you communicate that sort of beautiful place with kind of dark undertones effectively? Could this even unintentionally be a kind of companion piece to Us? I think maybe it could. The cover of the last album was like this cool thing that made it look like Stun Runner, the old video game. This is the cover of this one. Whoa! Hey, take it easy. You doing all right, man? Whew, that is a depressing cover. If you can't tell what that is an overweight, hairy man with the head of a rat. And I think that sets a pretty good dour tone for the entire album. In general, it's a pretty unified album. I liked Wavetable. Watch my review of that if you want. But it felt a little bit too automated, like it was too much just playing with the Wavetable settings on a keyboard, on a computer. This one's much more, you feel his hand in everything. For the most part, every song is like, starts off with some kind of, for most songs, starts off with kind of an automated rhythm that's a little bit jarring. Like on the first song, FM Death, it's kind of these like sloppy, clanging quarter notes. Cling, cling, cling. But what's nice is he does a really nice job layering things on top of it. This first song, FM Death, is really quite good. He sings the verse, the only verse, one time, and it's clean. And then the next time, distorted vocals come on. And somehow, more and more vocals come on, and more distortion comes on. And yet, it doesn't distance you from it. It actually brought me closer to this song. I really give it a shot. It's really quite a good song. And the lyrics themselves are pretty consistent throughout the entire album. I sort of compare it to, like, you know when you stare at yourself too long in the mirror and you start to go crazy? That's sort of how I feel about the lyrics of this song, of this album. Actually, the whole album is like staring into the mirror and kind of going crazy, which I think is that's a great reason to make an album. If you feel that way, I think you should do something. I feel like the camera's focusing too much on this plant. Get away from me, aggressive plant. That's better. All right. The lyrics also, there are a couple themes. It seems the themes are sleep and the ocean. And this song is talking about like driving into the ocean and waking up and being asleep. And those are pretty consistent themes. I don't know. Maybe that's what his life is like. If I watch his YouTube channel, I might know. The next track is called Bad, 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 Bad. And it's kind of nice, messed up, kind of industrial anti-music. The sampled voice is super distorted. It's kind of like a nightmare. This album sort of alternates, well actually completely alternates, between a sort of nightmare aesthetic and a lullaby aesthetic. Which is nice, you know? It's nice to have that kind of dynamism. And I could imagine people listening to it and finding that grating. If that sounds grating to you, you might not like Eric Taxxon. But if that sounds interesting to you, you just might. Because the next song after that is a song called Safety, which is this nicely arpeggiated, light, open, clean-sounding lullaby. I mean, really, that's the only thing you can say. And then the next track is aggravated arpeggios with panic texts, more singing, very, again, similar to Mountain Goats, if you ever heard that old 90s folk singer guy. It's sort of the most catchy song. He sort of, like, has a tag where he says hello, and then he has this automated voice being like, hello. It's kind of nice, kind of auto-tuned. This really contributes, the way that each song goes, they usually get sort of increasingly either clear or increasingly more obscure. It lends to that sense of this whole album as feeling like someone going a little bit nutty. The next song, Glass, is the most avant-garde song. It might actually be my favorite song just because it's so insane. It's this like angry instrumental. Just like, just like that, basically the whole time. And then it sounds like a machine is breaking. But then some weird, and I don't know what song it is. If you know, please put it in the comments. Some weird like soft rock song plays underneath. And it's almost like that vaporwave aesthetic, like this super sweet with this kind of just off. And I don't know, I had this feeling when I was listening to it. I just thought, man, I really hope this guy doesn't do drugs. Because there's a certain beauty and innocence to somebody who can lose their mind without being on drugs and commit that to art. And that's how this felt to me. Like somebody who's creative enough to lose their mind without substances and just put that on wax. Or not on wax, on the internet. I don't know how you'd say that. On bits? Ugh. Anyways, put that to music. And I really felt that in that song. And then up comes next, Road. Absolutely gets the stamp. I love this song. I legitimately think this is a great tune. It's very much in keeping with the rest of the album. It kind of starts with something a little bit automated. It has altered voice with a sort of auto-tuner, but not really auto-tuner. It's more of like a vocoder, if you've ever heard that kind of sound. It's interesting because I was tempted. It's a very emotional song. It connects with you, at least connected with me. It's very sweet. And I sort of associated it initially with Bon Iver, Bon Iver, because he does so much good work with vocoders and creating a human touch with auto-tune and with vocoders. But actually, it made me feel more like another Central Coast Californian, Neil Young. And there's a song called Transformer Man. Maybe my favorite Neil Young song. Not the acoustic version, the electronic version that he did with help of Devo in like 1981. It had that same kind of feel of where, to me, it sounds like someone is really working through a lot of themes, working through his life, trying to figure out what he's doing. and he's using these machines to help his voice, but somehow it doesn't feel like it's covering up. It feels more intimate. So let's have a little listen to Road. And I actually bought this one, so I don't feel bad playing it. Buy good music, goddammit. Okay. So there's the typical thump thumps that he begins most songs with on this album. I forget how long this is. And it keeps going on like this, and I find this really sweet. I find this sound very satisfying. The mixture of the voice and the drums. It has a kind of clarity and distortion at the same time that I find highly enjoyable. As the song goes on, I don't know how to use this. It's not on Tidal, by the way. It's on Bandcamp. How do you use Bandcamp? Could I look more like an old man with a computer? How does this work? Anyways, later on in the song, I bought the day. Here we go. Later on in the song, it gets even more interesting and more layered, as you hear here, where he brings in his other chords, but then you'll hear some nice minor chords here. It's really sweet. And then the drum machine comes in. So it starts off and it builds and it drives you all the way through the song, and it's got nice words and nice lyrics. I really enjoy this song. I can already tell that when I do my year-end review of Taxxon, my taxonomy, I am literally a dad, so I get to make jokes like that. And a professor. I have double rights to make puns like that. So when I do my taxonomy mixtape at the end of the year, I'm sure this will be on there. It's just a great song. Probably one of my favorite songs I've heard all year. So that's how much I like the song Road by Eric Taxxon. After that, it's good. That was sort of a high peak. So the next sort of song was called On Below, and a little bit of like kind of autopilot, like sort of Eric Taxxon, just general music. You know, it has lots of nice different parts. He does the thing of where he sings his quirky lyrics in sync with the melody of the keyboard, which is nice, but it didn't quite move me. You know, like Road just absolutely moved me. And then Riverbed is the penultimate song, and that was like this nice kind of downbeat song that's sort of leading you towards the end. You know, he sings in a nice low register, which is good to know that he can. And it's really, I found it a little bit bland, but then it was saved by this very melodic outro, which I really enjoyed. And if I could figure out how to use Bandcamp better, I'd play it for you. But I'm afraid I'm going to look like how does this work? When my dad would try to get TVs to work when I was a kid, he was always mad because they would punch everything as opposed to writing on it. So it would be just raised writing. So it'd be in black on the black thing. And he'd look at the back of the TV and just go, black on black. It's black on black. I can't read this. And then my mom would be behind and she'd turn on a flashlight and go, here's some light, dear. I can't read it. That's why I learned all the AV. And I was able to plug in my Nintendos myself. Anyways, I would play Riverbed, but I don't want a situation like that going on. And then it ends with another one of his lullabies, Comfort. These nice bell sounds, a little bit of automated whirring in back, a little reminder of the darkness that's always at the edge of this sort of Rat Man album. So there you go. This is my favorite Eric Taxxon album so far? Probably. I'm not quite sure. I look forward to seeing where he goes next month. This is a journey that I'm really enjoying, and I suggest you check it out on Bandcamp. And yeah, I will check in with whatever he does in April. And Santa Cruz is a nice... You should go to Santa Cruz. It's not worth avoiding. But I just got a weird feeling off of it. Did you? Do you like and subscribe to Facebook? There's the camera.